I'm Prof. St. Leon, and this is the story. So today we'll be interviewing Divine. Divine is a graduate of University of Benin. So he graduated from electrical electronic department. So today we'll be hearing his story so far, his struggles, his progress he has made. At the point in his life also, he also had to switch career. So he'll be sharing everything with us today. So Divine, you are welcome to the story.
Thank you very much, St. Leon. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm most honored to be here.
Thanks a lot, Divine. Can you confirm that you graduated from University of Benin and then you also serve in Calabar?
That's very, very affirmative. I graduated from the University of Benin from the Department of Electrical Electronic Engineering in the year 2015. And of course, I embarked on my 1 year compulsory National Youth Service in Calabar, Cross River State. So you're very correct on that.
Okay, now, how was your time like in Calabar? Can you share your experience with us? Was there any high and low? Was there, some take home during your compulsory national youth service?
Yes, there are always high and lows in every situation. Of course, Calabar was no different. Yes, it's a nice place. I had very high hopes of actually remaining in the city after my youth service, but of course, one or two other things happened, and it just didn't go that well for me to remain in the city. But Calabar is a nice place. It's a place of opportunity, nice people, and my youth service was great to some extent. I made friends. I visited places like Tinapa. Also, what's the name of this place now? I'm trying to remember
Spa,
the spot.
spa.
Spa, then this popular resort in Marina Resort. Yes, Marina Resort, and several other nice places in Calabar. Calabar, it's a very good city. For my NYSC year, it was very, very good actually. I got a very good apartment from my PPA, which is a franchise of Konga. Konga, the online market store. So their outlet in Calabar. I worked there with my boss, who was very, very nice, and I think it made my stay in Calabar very, very worthwhile. So I would describe my stay in Calabar as great.
Now that's fantastic. Now, what happened next? After your NYC, what happened next? So how did you progress? How well, because at the end of your NYC, your Alawi as at then your 19.8 we stop. So what became your next source of income?
Well, while I was still serving in Calabar, towards the end of my program, I had friends, and I tried to work a job to get a job in some of the top companies like flour mills and this one other oil company there that I tried getting, but unfortunately it just didn't work out. So I had to come back to Benin. Of course, no more Alawi. So when I came back to Benin for some time, after my youth service, I came back to Benin, my home, where I'm from. So came back to my parents' house, which of course, as an adult, that's not nice. So, but I just had to hold on to that for some time. So I had to get a job. I got a job in a printing house, a printing press, where we made SAV and flares and large printing format, digital printing houses. So I got a job there. I was the manager, and I worked there for, of course, a space of a month. But I really had a lot of issues with the boss, so I had to just quit. And that led me to the next phase of my career, which is teaching. So I had to go into teaching to, of course, hold body together.
Okay, that's fantastic. So, how's your experience been like in teaching? Like being a teacher has because there's always a popular saying though that the teacher's reward is in heaven. So, yours is it in heaven or you are already reaping your reward right now?
For me, I would say it's both. It's both in heaven and on earth here. When I say in heaven, is in the sense that we don't earn so much. So of course there is a kind of Dorimi lifestyle that we would like to live, just like every other person, every other worker. But of course you cannot have that as a teacher because the pay is not much. But you also get the reward of the joy in imparting knowledge to children, helping them. In my this time period of being a teacher, I have taught all the various levels of education from the primary all to the secondary school. I've trained people to write WAEC and also the junior WAEC and primary six living school certificate. So I've done all round. I've taught all round levels in the education, except in the tertiary education, of course. So far, there's a lot of fulfillment. There's a lot of joy you get when you see your children moving on to the next phase of life. Some of my students now, some of them are in the university. Some have even graduated from the university. Some are studying medicine currently. So for me is a lot of joy. That's a reward. So when you say reward is in heaven, yes, there's another reward we're going to reap in heaven, but there's still more rewards for us to be had while we are on earth here, and that's the joy we get from tutoring children and seeing them become something great in life.
That's really fantastic. That's really nice. Yes, I absolutely agree with you, Divine. Now, I also learned that there was a stage in your teaching, and then you wish to switch career, right? Like you wish to try something else. So, what exactly was that?
Okay. Yeah, that was after teaching. I taught all from I started teaching that was I think March 2018. So of course I after teaching in year 2020, of course I started having the feeling to change career. That was early 2021. I wanted to go into tech. I was into tech before, but I stopped. So I wanted to go back to it. I kept procrastinating until I finally took the bold decision in 2022. And while I took the decision, I'll be okay, let me just take a little time to talk about this now. I was in a good school with good pay. You know, you talk about um, our reward being in heaven now. So the school where I was teaching, the pay was not so bad. You could actually, in the sense that I had home lessons, where I earned quite a lot. And also, it was a big school, so parents usually appreciate teachers a lot. So I wasn't doing badly at all. In fact, I was very comfortable with what I was getting from teaching that period because I had several sources where I had money from. And of course, being a mathematics teacher, it means that you are very high in demand, and a lot of people want to engage your services for their children, for tutorials. So I had quite a lot of money then. So you can imagine taking the decision. There was a lot of uncertainty in my decision. I wanted to switch career into tech, not knowing what the future holds, not knowing whether I'm going to get a job, whether I'm going to succeed in it and all that. And in doing that, it simply means that I have to quit my job as a teacher and go into it fully because the boot camp I was going to learn in the microverse requires that I don't do any job because it's quite tasky. So I had to quit my job. Of course, it was a very, 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 very tough decision to make. But I had to count my cost and I weighed everything. And I thought, yes, it may be comfortable for me to be a teacher for now. I'm earning quite enough to take care of myself. But what about the future? I'm going to own a family tomorrow and everything. So I had to just take the bold decision. That was how I quit my teaching job. Of course, and my home lessons too, almost all of them stopped because most parents they will want to only employ the services of a home lesson teacher for a teacher that's actually teaching in a school. So if you don't have a school, they will not want to employ you. So it means I have to give everything up. And of course, I did save. I saved enough money for the time period that I'm going to be doing the program. So that was what sustained me during the period of that 1 year training that I had for my tech career. So that was how I went into tech in 2022. I started the program November 30th, 2022, and it ran for about a year. It ended, I think I finished the program July 2023. So it was a tough journey, and that's a story on its own.
Now, let me ask, how challenging was the boot camp, the training you have with Microverse? So, how challenging was it?
It was very, very challenging. In fact, I think that's the greatest trial that I've ever had in terms of trying something new for myself. Because yes, I've been programming before then. Before I started the program, I thought I was very, very good. In fact, there was a disclaimer and that before you get into the program, it's not a program for beginners. You have to have a certain level of programming knowledge before you can even get into the program in the first place. Else, you won't be able to cope. So it was very, very tasky. In fact, just the first week alone of the program, I was so tensed. I had become so stressed out that I wasn't eating very well. I wasn't sleeping very well because there was just so much task for you to do. You know, you were given tasks that will take other people like a month to do. You were given just a week, 5 days to do it. You have a deadline of Friday, 12 a.m. to submit all your tasks for the week, and then you have a grace of Saturday. If you're not able to finish everything by Friday, you're given it a grace of a day, which is Saturday. If by 12 a.m. Saturday you've not been able to submit all your tasks for the week, you are meant to repeat the whole week. And if you repeat a week more than twice, in a module. A module is made up of 5 weeks. Then you are supposed to repeat the whole module. And if you repeat a module more than twice in a year, you have to withdraw from the program. Not really withdraw, to take a break from the program, then apply some other time. So there was a lot of pressure. We didn't want to repeat a week because of the chances of you missing out in the program, being withdrawn from the program, of course. So there was a lot of pressure on me, and I had to learn so many new concepts about programming: JavaScript, HTML, CSS, React, and also backend technology, Ruby on Rails. So Postgres, and so many things that we had to learn. And of course, another thing that made the program very challenging is that we didn't have teachers. There were no teachers. You have to teach yourself. They just give you materials. You're supposed to go through the materials, and then they give you something for you to work on, to design. You're supposed to build it. Like for instance, they could tell you to build a particular app. All they just need to do is to give you tutorials, what you need to read, what you need to know to do it. So that was how the program ran. There were no teachers. You teach yourself, you learn. Then of course, talking about you, we had the code reviewers. Code reviewers are people who actually look at your work. They give you a task to do, maybe an app to build. After building the app, you submit it for review. The code reviewers are supposed to review it, and when they are satisfied that you have done what they asked you to do, that's when they approve it. Then that task is complete. If the code reviewer refuses to approve your work, it simply means that your work is not done and you have to continue working on it until they approve your work. So it was very, very challenging. In fact, no amount of, a lot of people dropped along the way. A lot of people couldn't finish the program. In fact, we were less than 10% of us that got to the end of the program, that finished it. So many people had to drop. Some people, when they finished the front end, they just gave up because it was, in fact, that on its own is a win for you to be able to get to the end of the front end alone. So that's it. I had teammates from around the world. I worked with people from Europe, European countries, Asian countries, and African countries. So I made friends from these places. I built a lot of application with these people. I worked alone. I also worked in as a team with team members from around the world. So it was a great experience, though very, very challenging and tasky. There's so much to say about my journey, but there's not enough time to say it all.
Okay, now let's look at it again. Let's take some step back. Now, during this your training, you were not working. You were not working. Maybe perhaps you did one or two. So you said you saved before you start your training. Now, was your savings, was it enough to carry you through this your 1 year boot camp?
It wasn't really enough. It wasn't enough. But I had to just make do with whatever I had. I had support from friends anyway. And once in a while, although I had a parent that was still engaging my services in tutorials. So that was the only job I was doing, especially in the weekend. So that's the only thing I did during that period. Not like I was completely idle or not doing anything. So I was able to add that one. I was taking one child for tutorials. And that the pay from there was able to also help out during that period. But of course, Nigeria, things are very expensive here, so you can't really say you will save enough money that will take you a year without working. So you just have to look for something else to, augment. Else, you'll be in a lot of trouble. So that's how I was able to cope for the period of that 1 year.
All right. Now let's look at it also. How challenging is it also for, in fact, how challenging is it to survive as a software developer in Nigeria?
It is very, very, very challenging. In fact, like I said, it's over a year now since I graduated from the program, and getting a job has been, there's no job has been forthcoming. I've applied to so many companies, so many. Of course, I've gone to done some interviews, but the major challenge that I always seem to have is experience. Of course, in this field of tech, people don't just want to employ somebody who doesn't have real world experience, even though I won't count myself as not having real world experience, because I have built very complex applications for real life applications. I've built a software, a web app for a hospital where you can book appointment with doctors. I've built very, very cool applications. So I won't really count myself as not having a real world experience, because I have built applications that can compete in the real world. But people just want you to have this experience that you have worked somewhere in a company before. So most companies are not willing to give you that opportunity to, prove yourself, to see what you can do. So they just want someone who has a lot of experience, like 3 years experience working for a tech company and all that. So that has been a challenge. So if you lack experience, that's one challenge. Then also getting international jobs. There's this stereotype for us, for people from Africa. They just have this mindset about us that, I know, maybe trust issues or one or two issues. They just don't want to employ Africans for remote opportunities. So once you're applying for a job, maybe in a UK company or a US company, once they see your location that you're from Africa, especially from Nigeria, they don't always want to give you the job. Sometimes they may even call you for interview, but that location alone is a big hindrance. So it has been challenging. It doesn't mean that there are no Nigerians getting international jobs, but they are very, very few. Very, very few. So that has been the challenge as a software developer from Nigeria. Landing that job as a software engineer in Nigeria has been very, very challenging indeed. And I'm still applying though. And during this period, I've been working on a lot of programs on my own, a lot of application on my own, building up my skills, making sure that I can deliver in case that job finally comes. So I'm still hoping though, I'm still searching.
That's really fantastic. So we really love your level of optimism, being very optimistic, being very focused. It's never easy when you have to change career sometimes, try something new. But one thing I know for sure is, there is always a reward for hard work. So I'm very certain you putting in the work and you will surely have your reward for hard work. Now, can you also simply let us in, like, how close have you been in landing a gig, like in landing a job? How close have you been? Like, you've had a series of interview, how close have you been?
There was one that I was very, very close to getting. In fact, I actually thought I had gotten it, in the sense that they had introduced me to the job, my duties, my responsibilities in the company, the work ethics, the rules in the company, and the training and everything. So that was the last stage of the interview that I attended. I thought I had gotten the job. In fact, it was a job somewhere in Cyprus. So I was supposed to be working remotely from Nigeria. I had done everything. In fact, I was already celebrating that I finally gotten a job. So although the interviewer did tell me that I still have to do one round of interview. So, but the way she did interview me was more like getting me acquainted with the company, like I'd already been taken. So I was quite happy, but unfortunately, I got the disappointing email that they have decided to move on with other candidates for the job, and that was quite surprising for me because I thought I had done very, very well in the last interview. And given the fact that so much about the company has already been taught to me, and even up to the pay had already been told to me, so I felt quite disappointed. So that was the closest I ever came to landing the job. Yes, I've also had some other interviews in the past, but they didn't really work out. But this particular one I'm talking about was really the closest to getting, but unfortunately, it still didn't work out.
I can really feel the disappointment that that must have brought. Now, you are a full stack developer, so you have knowledge, you have a very good knowledge of both the front end and also the back end. These days, a lot of persons going into tech, going into programming, coding, and the likes. Do you feel that somehow, the industry is getting saturated?
One of the yes, it is one of the reasons I was very much encouraged to even do the program. One of the reasons, not my major reason, is the fact that there was, as at that time, whenever you go to LinkedIn or any job site, you usually find a lot of job vacancies, especially for international companies for tech developers. And landing a gig as a software developer used to be much easier. But from 2020 up to this time, with the whole COVID-19 and a lot of companies running out of business and all that, it has made it become quite difficult for developers to land a job. It's not really, of course, I did say that I have challenges as a Nigerian, but the truth of the matter is it's actually a global phenomenon. The field is really saturated, and there are less companies these days to engage the services of developers. And even the few ones that you have, they really want cheap labor. They would employ, of course, they will want to employ, they will tell you, okay, we are looking for a junior developer for this, but the requirements of the job will be someone that is very, very like a senior developer. So they are looking for a senior developer that they will employ and pay the money of a junior developer. So these are some of the things they just want. And even when you want to even go for internship, some companies go as far as telling you to even pay to intern in their company. So it's as bad as that. There's just the field is really saturated because a lot of people are actually going to tech these days. And if you go, a lot of your motivational speakers will tell you, okay, one of the skills that you need to get in 2024, 2025 is tech. Go into tech. Tech is the future. Tech is this. Tech is that, and all that. These are some of the things. That's part of the reason why a lot of people are going into tech, and the industry is really now very saturated. And but of course, if you are very, very good at what you do, you should also you get a job no matter how saturated it is. It's just a matter of being consistent and continue to put in your craft, your energy, your work effort. So that's it.
Now you currently reside in Benin City, that is part of the southern part of Nigeria. Now, do you think that your current location has somehow affected your inability to secure your first job?
Yes, it has. Well, if I had been in a place like Lagos, I believe I would have gotten a job by now. Yes, that's very, very true. But of course, in Benin here, there are less companies that have requirements for tech developer for full stack developers. But in a place like Lagos or Abuja or maybe Port Harcourt and some other more industrialized cities in Nigeria, then you have more opportunities, more job opportunities, but there are very, very few of them. But even at that, I've actually been looking for quite remote opportunity. There was like one job I was also very close to getting. It was in Lagos. There was another in Abuja too, but they required that I stay around there. I was willing to relocate though, but there was just too much uncertainty on their own part. It now depends on whether they are going to give me the job or not because I just cannot carry my bags and start going to Lagos when I haven't secured the job yet. So some of these companies they will actually prefer people who actually reside over there because of the interview phase. Like there was one interview I did where they actually did specify that they want someone who actually resides in Abuja. This was in Abuja. And of course, as at that time, I wasn't residing in Abuja, and the interview came up. It was a physical exercise. It wasn't an online interview. It was physical. You needed to be in Abuja. And of course, the notification came just a day before the interview itself. So of course, I couldn't make my way to Abuja and all that. So that's it. You are very correct about it. My location has really affected.
Okay, now also let's also look at an angle of tech. Recent, there seems to be a lot of hype around data science, data analytics, especially those with good knowledge of machine learning, deep learning, related to artificial intelligence, and the likes. You see yourself in the future, perhaps switching from a full stack to.
I wouldn't say switch. I would say add to it to my portfolio. Currently, I'm not. I'm a full stack developer, but I diversified my field. I have different tech stacks that I use. I started out with Ruby on Rails for my backend. Then, with time, on my own, my bootcamp, I added Node.js to it. Node.js Express. I had to learn that on my own. And currently, I'm building my skills with Nest.js. So the field of tech is one where you need to consistently improve on yourself. You have to learn new skills